and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be sharing with you my TBR for Spookathon, which is happening from the 14th to the 20th of October. I had to double check there for a second. But this is hosted by Books and Lala. I will leave a link to her announcement video in the description. And let's just jump into the challenges. There's only 5, which makes me feel a lot better because I have not been reading a lot lately. So let's just jump right into it. The first one is to read a thriller. So for that, I plan to read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I wanted to read this book last month because I got it for my birthday, but I just never got around to reading it, and I am super excited for it. So I've talked about it a lot, and I always say I like to go into my thrillers blind, but in case you like to know a bit about the book before you read it, this is about a girl who goes to work as like a live-in nanny for this really rich family, but then she ends up being the main suspect for the murder in, I think, The Child? I don't want to learn too much from reading the synopsis, but she ends up being the main suspect in the murder of somebody in the family, and the story is kind of her recounting the tale to a police detective or something like that. Either way, I'm really excited to finally pick it up. Hopefully, I will actually read it this time. The next one is to read a book with red on the cover. So for this, I'll be reading Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. This is Caitlin Doughty's third nonfiction book. It actually just came out like a couple weeks ago, so I immediately had to get my hands on it because I loved her other 2 books. If you don't know who Caitlin Doughty is, she is a mortician, and she also has a YouTube channel called Ask a Mortician, and all of her books are based around these death kind of subjects. So this one, it's big questions from tiny mortals about death. So these are questions that like kids would ask, like, will my cat eat my eyeballs? And even though these are questions that are like from children, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for kids. Anybody can read this. So some of the other questions that are answered in here are like, what would happen to an astronaut body in space? Why do we turn colors when we die? How does an adult fit in a tiny box after cremation? Like, all very valid questions that I would like to know the answers to. So I'm excited to read this book, and obviously it's got quite a lot of red on the cover. Speaking of cats, mine is just gonna chill right here throughout the whole video. So the next challenge is to read a book with a spooky word in the title. If I keep looking over there, it's because that's where I've got the challenges up on my computer. So for this, I plan to read Midnight at the Bright Ideas bookstore. This is kind of a stretch, but I'm going to say midnight is a spooky word. This is another adult thriller. I believe it is about a bookstore where someone has hung themselves in the top floor of the bookstore. That's all I know about it. I'm not really sure exactly what the plot is outside of that, but I am excited to pick it up. I've heard some pretty good things about it, and also it's like a book about books, so that makes me happy. And then the next challenge is to read a book with a spooky setting. I don't have a specific book for this because I'm hoping at least one of these thrillers will have a spooky setting to it. So we're just going to hope that one of those works for that. And then the last one is to read something you wouldn't normally read. And again, I don't have a specific book for this because I'm really struggling to come up with one. There's not like a lot of book genres that I wouldn't normally read. Like, I read almost every genre out there. Like, I mean, except for like erotica or something, I would say I don't read, but everything else, like, I read it, so there's nothing I wouldn't normally read. As far as like format that I don't normally read, I would say like short stories, audiobooks, and ebooks, but the reason I don't read them is because I pretty much hate them. Like, I don't really like listening to audiobooks. I can't get into them at all. I don't like reading on my phone. It gives me a headache. I don't like short stories. I can't get invested into a story that quickly. So I'm kind of stuck on what I'm going to read. I'm trying to find like a Stephen King short story, but all the ones that I tried looking up are not available on Overdrive or my library, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for this challenge yet. We're just going to have to figure it out when I get to that. Those are the books I plan to read for Spookathon. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you'll be participating and what books you plan on reading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
You hear that, Samson?